All right, so we're diving deep today into building stronger relationships. We're going to be looking at always and forever, daily relational practices to help your relationship heal, grow, and thrive. The author is Ehsan Adib Shabahang, and he's a therapist. And he's actually brought both his professional experience and his own personal experiences into the book. It's really cool because it's dedicated to his wife, Sharon.
Yes. And the dedication is really beautiful. It says, "My love, this life is but a fleeting moment, too brief to hold all the love I have for you. But fear not, for when this life ends, I will seek you in the next. In every lifetime, in every world, I will find you, and we will be together forever bound by a love that knows no end."
Wow. I mean, that's setting the bar high. But I think it really gets at the core of this idea that relationships aren't about just finding the one and then, happily ever after. It takes work, right?
Absolutely. It pushes back against that fairy tale idea of happily ever after. Like you said, it's not about finding the perfect person. It's about choosing to build that fulfilling partnership.
Okay. So the book lays out 12 goals for creating a thriving relationship.
Exactly.
And the first one really caught my eye. It's celebrate differences. And I kind of laughed when I saw that because it just seems like such a paradox. Like we're attracted to our partners for their unique qualities,
Yeah.
but then we often find ourselves trying to change them.
Yeah. It's definitely a common tension that we see in relationships. And the book actually talks about this as projection. So we often see in our partners the very traits we dislike in ourselves.
Oh, that's interesting. Can you give an example of what that might look like?
Sure. Let's say you find yourself constantly annoyed by your partner's messiness, right? You might be hyper-organized and struggle to relax when things are out of place, but maybe deep down, you actually kind of envy their ability to let go and be spontaneous. So the messiness is really just a surface issue. The real conflict is within yourself.
So instead of nagging our partner to change, the book is saying, what if we kind of flipped the script and worked on those things in ourselves?
Exactly. The book challenges us to ask, what if we focused on becoming more accepting of that messiness or more comfortable with spontaneity?
That's a shift in perspective.
Yeah.
And it's a little daunting when you think about it.
It can be, but the book really emphasizes that self-awareness is essential for healthy relationships. And it also reminds us that relationships are dynamic. They're always in flux. It even compares fluctuating intimacy levels to like an appetite. Sometimes you're craving connection, other times you need space, and both are perfectly normal.
That's good to hear. I think so many of us put pressure on ourselves to like always be super close and connected. So moving on to goal 2. The book talks about practicing courtesy. And this one, to me, seems so simple, like almost obvious, but do we always extend the same courtesy to our partners that we would to a stranger?
That's such a good question. And the book actually argues that courtesy is the language of respect, trust, and lasting connection. It's about treating our partner with consideration, even in those really small, everyday interactions.
I can see how that would make a big difference over time. So what are some practical ways we can bring more courtesy into our relationship?
Well, one of the tips that the book gives is to be really clear in your communication. It says, your partner is not a mind reader. So instead of hinting or hoping they'll pick up on what we need, we should just directly state our wants and desires.
So no more passive-aggressive sighs, or hoping they just know it's their turn to do the dishes.
Right. Direct communication is key. And another technique the book suggests is using the maybe.
The maybe.
Yeah. So let's say your partner asks you to do something, and you're not sure if you have the time or energy. Instead of saying yes out of obligation or no out of resentment, you can say maybe. That gives you the space to consider your own needs and then to follow up later with a more definitive answer.
I like that. It's like a way to avoid overcommitting.
Exactly.
Or feeling resentful later. Now, what about those times where clarity is really important, like when we're trying to communicate how strongly we feel about something?
Yeah. For those situations, the book recommends a rating system. So instead of saying I'm kind of annoyed, you can tell your partner if something is like a 2 or an 8 on the importance scale.
Oh.
That helps avoid misinterpretations and make sure everyone's on the same page about how important the issue is.
It takes the guesswork out. Okay, so moving on to goal 3, the book tackles the ever so common issue of conflict. Address problems early. I think we've all been there, where we sweep things under the rug, hoping they'll magically disappear.
Yeah, and as you can imagine,
Right.
the book warns against that. This avoidance tactic just leads to resentment building up over time.
Right, so it's about being proactive and addressing those issues head on, even when it's uncomfortable. But how do we do that in a way that doesn't turn into a huge blow up?
Well, The book emphasizes that it's not about avoiding conflict altogether, it's about managing it constructively. So for example, when you're feeling angry, instead of just venting, try to identify what you'd like your partner to do differently in the future, and then communicate that clearly.
Oh, okay. So it's about focusing on solutions rather than just dwelling on the problem.
Exactly. And another helpful tip is to paraphrase what your partner is saying before you respond. This ensures that you understand their perspective, and it helps you avoid those knee-jerk reactions that can just escalate the situation.
I can see how slowing down the conversation and really making sure we understand each other could prevent a lot of unnecessary arguments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, do you remember that tip about using I statements
Yeah.
and focusing on your feelings?
Yes.
So instead of blaming your partner with a phrase like, "You're always late,"
Yeah.
you could try saying, "I feel anxious when you're late because I worry that something might have happened."
Right. That's a much more constructive way to communicate your feelings without attacking your partner.
I like these practical communication strategies.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to something a little more fun. Goal 4 is all about embracing playfulness. And I love this one because I think sometimes we forget to have fun in our relationships. The book reminds us that laughter and play are the sparks that keep love vibrant.
It does.
And I couldn't agree more.
And it really encourages couples to get creative with their fun. It even suggests things like finger painting with chocolate pudding and having spontaneous squirt bottle duel.
Okay, that sounds hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm all for bringing out our inner children. I have to admit, though, sometimes it's hard to prioritize playfulness when life gets so busy and stressful.
I hear that. But that's exactly why it's so important. Playfulness helps us de-stress, connect on a deeper level, and rekindle that sense of joy that can get lost in the daily grind.
Yeah, you're right. It's about making time for those moments of pure fun and connection.
Okay.
Let's shift gears to goal 5. Share responsibilities. This isn't just about splitting chores down the middle, right?
No, it's not just about a simple division of labor. The book emphasizes that a true partnership is about sharing the effort with care, respect, and a spirit of togetherness.
So it's more about approaching those responsibilities as a team.
Exactly. It's about supporting each other and finding ways to make even the mundane tasks more enjoyable. The book even suggests hiring help for those dreaded chores, like cleaning the bathroom, or tackling a challenging project together, like the example it gives of removing a tree stump.
Oh, I love that analogy. It's like a metaphor for all the tough stuff couples face together and how working as a team can build a sense of accomplishment and strengthen the bond.
Absolutely. The book also emphasizes communicating openly about who's handling what and being upfront if something can't be done. It even encourages those little surprise gestures, like taking on a task your partner doesn't expect, as a way to show love and appreciation.
I love that. It's about transforming those everyday chores into acts of care and connection. Okay. Goal 6 is one that can be a bit tricky to navigate. Respect boundaries.
Yeah. It's a topic that often comes up in my work with couples, and the book stresses that respecting boundaries isn't about creating distance. It's about honoring individuality, building trust, and deepening connection.
So it's about recognizing that even in the closest relationships, we each need our own space. Right. Both physically and emotionally.
Right.
Can you give us some concrete examples of what boundaries might look like in practice?
Sure. Boundaries can be about physical space, like needing some alone time after work to decompress, or about emotional space, like not wanting to discuss certain sensitive topics. It could also be about respecting personal items, like not using your partner's special tools without asking, or having different preferences for social activities.
So it's about being mindful of those individual needs and preferences, even if they differ from our own.
Exactly.
And it sounds like clear communication is key here, just like with courtesy.
Absolutely. It's about expressing those needs and expectations clearly and respectfully, and being willing to listen and respond to our partner's boundaries as well.
Now, the book also talks about sharing power and decision-making within the relationship. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Yeah. It's about ensuring that no one person feels like they're always in control or always having to submit to the other's will. It's about finding a balance where both partners feel heard, respected, and empowered to contribute to decisions that affect the relationship.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And the book also cautions against retaliation when boundaries are tested, right?
Yes. It's about taking a step back, understanding why those boundaries are important to our partner, and responding in a way that strengthens the relationship, not undermines it.
It's about choosing understanding and empathy over defensiveness or anger. Okay, so we've covered courtesy, conflict resolution, playfulness, sharing responsibilities, and respecting boundaries. Now let's dive into a topic that often causes tension in relationships.
Yeah.
Money.
Right.
Goal 7 is financial harmony.
Yes.
And the book stresses that it's built on trust, transparency, and teamwork. Now, money can be a tricky subject to navigate. We all have different financial backgrounds, habits, and anxieties. So how can couples create a sense of financial harmony without it turning into a battleground?
Wow. The book emphasizes open and honest conversations about your income, your spending habits, and your financial goals. It also suggests having regular money dates where you sit down together, review your finances, and make sure you're both on the same page.
So it's about being proactive and communicating openly about money matters.
Exactly, rather than avoiding the topic or hoping for the best.
The book also suggests considering separate accounts alongside a joint one, to strike a balance between shared responsibilities and individual autonomy.
Right, that can be a helpful way to manage finances, especially if you have different spending styles.
And for more complex situations, like when you're dealing with blended families, or when one partner has significantly more resources, the book recommends seeking advice from a financial advisor.
Yes, it's always a good idea to get expert help when you're dealing with complex financial matters.
And just like with boundaries, the book cautions against retaliation in money matters.
Yes.
So if your partner's spending habits are upsetting you, address it through open discussion, not impulsive purchases as payback.
Exactly. It's about approaching financial challenges as a team, not adversaries.
Financial harmony is about working together to create a sense of security, stability, and shared goals. Okay, let's move on to Goal 8. Celebrate special moments. The book reminds us that these moments, whether they're big or small, are opportunities to express love, appreciation, and strengthen the bond.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that those special moments aren't just about the event itself. They're about honoring each other's happiness, creating memories, and deepening that connection.
So it's not just about birthdays and anniversaries.
Right. It's about finding ways to celebrate each other in those everyday moments, those little wins and accomplishments.
And the book encourages us to go beyond the ordinary.
It does. Blend traditions, create new ones together, and offer thoughtful gifts that truly reflect our partner's needs and desires.
I love that. It's about putting thought and intention into those gestures, showing our partner that we truly see and appreciate them.
And it's also about supporting each other during those potentially challenging family visits.
Oh, that's a good point.
And setting some loving expectations around how those special occasions unfold.
Yeah. Family dynamics can be complex.
Yeah.
And it's important to navigate those situations as a team,
Right.
offering support and understanding to each other.
It's about being present, supportive, and making those moments truly meaningful for both partners.
It sounds like celebrating those special moments is really about being intentional and present with each other.
Okay.
So moving on to Goal 9. This one challenges a notion we often hear about relationships, that idea of two becoming one. But this goal is embrace your individuality.
Right. The book really pushes back against that idea of losing yourself in a relationship. It says a strong relationship is built not by merging into one, but by growing side by side, whole, supported, and deeply connected.
So it's not about sacrificing who we are to become part of a couple. It's about nurturing our individual selves, while also nurturing the relationship.
Exactly. It encourages us to support our partner's passions, even if we don't share them, and to maintain our own individual friendships and interests. It's about recognizing that having our own separate lives actually enriches the relationship because it brings new experiences and perspectives to the table.
Right. I can see how that could prevent us from becoming too dependent on our partner for all of our needs and fulfillment. It's about maintaining a healthy sense of self within the context of the relationship.
Exactly. And the more we thrive as individuals, the more we have to offer each other, and the stronger our connection becomes.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's talk about Goal 10, nurture your connection. This one seems to get at the heart of what it takes to build a lasting relationship.
It does. The book says that a thriving relationship isn't built on grand gestures alone. It's about those small, consistent acts of care, attention, and presence that keep love growing strong.
So it's those everyday moments of connection, those little things we do to show our partner we care.
Yes. It's about making time for those daily check-ins, sharing our successes and struggles, and engaging in those fun activities together.
Yeah, I can see how that could help couples stay connected, especially when life gets busy and those opportunities for quality time become more scarce.
Absolutely. And it's about being present in those moments, truly listening to each other, and being attuned to each other's needs.
The book also talks about incorporating surprise gestures into our routine. Can you give me some examples of what that might look like?
Sure, it could be something as simple as bringing your partner their favorite coffee in the morning, or leaving a sweet note for them to find. It doesn't have to be extravagant, just a thoughtful gesture that shows you care.
I love that. It's about those little acts of kindness that brighten each other's day.
Yeah.
Remind us why we love each other.
Exactly. And the book also emphasizes having open conversations about your priorities and how you can best support each other as those priorities shift and evolve over time.
That's a good point. Life is constantly changing. And it's essential to be able to communicate openly about those changes and how they might impact the relationship.
Right. And the book acknowledges that major life changes are inevitable, but it encourages us to face them as a team, adapting and growing stronger together.
It's about recognizing that those challenges can either strengthen or weaken the bond, depending on how we choose to navigate them.
Exactly. And it's about recognizing that a thriving relationship requires both partners to actively contribute to the growth and well-being of both the individual and the partnership as a whole.
Speaking of actively contributing, Goal 11 is show appreciation and love. This seems like a natural extension of nurturing the connection.
It is. The book reminds us that love grows strongest in those small, everyday moments, when appreciation, kindness, and thoughtful gestures remind our partner that they are truly valued.
So it's about making those small, everyday efforts to express love and appreciation, whether it's through words, actions, or a combination of both.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that those seemingly insignificant acts of kindness, those little things that we often take for granted, actually speak volumes about how much we care.
Can you give us some examples of how we can show appreciation and love in our everyday lives?
Of course. It could be as simple as expressing gratitude for the things your partner does for you, offering genuine compliments, or surprising them with a thoughtful treat.
It's about making a conscious effort to notice and appreciate those things, rather than just expecting them or taking them for granted.
Right. And the book also reminds us to be mindful of each other's love languages.
Oh, that's important.
Understanding that what makes one person feel loved might not have the same impact on another.
Right. Can you give us a quick overview of the different love languages?
Sure. There are 5 love languages: words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. Each person has a primary love language, which is the way they most readily feel loved and appreciated.
So if my partner's love language is acts of service, they might feel most loved when I help out around the house or do something to make their life easier. But if their love language is words of affirmation, they might appreciate a heartfelt compliment or words of encouragement more than anything else.
Exactly. And if we're not speaking our partner's love language, our efforts to show love might not be as effective.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about understanding what makes our partner feel loved and appreciated, and making an effort to express our love in a way that resonates with them.
It is. It's about being attuned to those individual needs and preferences, and speaking the language of love that our partner understands.
Now, the final goal,
Yeah.
Goal 12, might seem a bit counterintuitive at first. It's prioritize yourself.
Yeah.
And I think we often associate self-care with being selfish. But the book actually reframes it as an act of love.
It does. The book actually states that prioritizing your own well-being isn't selfish, it's essential. When you care for yourself, you bring your best self to your relationship, allowing love to flourish with balance and strength.
So it's not about neglecting our own needs for the sake of the relationship. It's about recognizing that taking care of ourselves actually benefits the relationship in the long run.
Exactly. The book emphasizes that when we neglect our own needs, we end up depleted and resentful, which ultimately harms the relationship.
Right. It's like the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. We have to fill ourselves up first before we can give to others.
Exactly. And the book encourages us to engage in activities that make us feel vibrant and alive, even if we do them on our own. It's about recognizing that our passions and interests are important and deserve to be nurtured.
Yeah, I think that can be a challenge for some people, especially those who are naturally givers or who derive a lot of their sense of self from their relationships.
I understand that, but the book reminds us that setting boundaries, asking for help when we need it, and trusting our instincts when something feels off are all essential for maintaining our own well-being.
It's about recognizing that we have a right to take care of ourselves, both physically and emotionally, and that doing so is not selfish, but actually strengthens our ability to show up fully for our partner and for the relationship.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that a healthy relationship is built on 2 healthy individuals who are each committed to their own well-being, as well as to the well-being of the partnership.
Okay, so we've covered all 12 goals outlined in Always and Forever, and I have to say, I'm really struck by how comprehensive and practical this book is. It's not just theoretical fluff. It's full of concrete tips and examples that we can actually implement in our own lives.
Yes, and that's what makes it so valuable. It's a roadmap,
Yeah.
not just a wish list. It's about taking those goals and turning them into actionable steps
Yeah.
that we can take every day to nurture our relationships and create the love we desire.
And those small, consistent efforts, that's what makes all the difference in the long run. It's not about grand gestures or trying to be perfect. It's about showing up every day and doing the work, even when it's hard.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that relationships, like anything worthwhile in life, require effort and commitment. But the rewards, the love, the connection, the joy are so worth it.
The book really emphasizes intentionality in action. It's like saying, okay, here's the roadmap, but you've got to get behind the wheel and drive.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership of our relationships and being proactive in nurturing them.
And it's about recognizing that we have the power to create the love we want in our lives. But it takes effort, commitment, and a willingness to learn and grow.
Exactly. It's about embracing the journey, the ups and downs, the challenges and the triumphs, and knowing that it's all part of creating a love that lasts.
Now, before we wrap up our deep dive into Always and Forever, I want to circle back to something that really stood out to me, the dedication to the author's wife, Sharon.
Yes. It's such a beautiful testament to their love and commitment, and it speaks to the heart of what this book is all about. Creating a love that endures, a love that weathers the storms and grows stronger with each passing year.
Yeah, it's inspiring to think that that kind of love is possible, even in a world that often tells us that relationships are disposable, or that the spark inevitably fades.
It is. And it's a reminder that we have a choice in how we approach our relationships. We can choose to just coast along, hoping for the best, or we can choose to invest in our love, to nurture it, to grow it, and to create a love that truly lasts.
So what does all of this mean for you, dear listener?
Well, it means that you have the power to create a more fulfilling, loving relationship. It means that you don't have to settle for mediocrity or resign yourself to the idea that relationships are just hard work with no payoff.
It means you can choose to invest in your relationship, to nurture it, to grow it, and to create a love that lasts. And you have the tools and the guidance you need to do it.
That's right. It's about taking those goals, those insights, those practical tips, and applying them to your own unique relationship. It's about having those honest conversations, making those small but significant efforts, and choosing to show up every day with love and intention.
And it's about remembering that building a lasting love is a journey, not a destination. There will be bumps along the road. But with the right mindset, the right tools, and the right partner by your side, you can navigate those challenges and emerge stronger, more connected, and more in love than ever before.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that love is not a static state, but a dynamic process, a constant dance between two individuals who choose to grow together, to support each other, and to create a love that evolves and deepens over time.
And as we wrap up our deep dive into Always and Forever, I'm struck by how much this book encourages us to think beyond the traditional romantic relationship model.
That's a great point. Many of these goals, celebrating differences, practicing courtesy, respecting boundaries, they could apply to friendships, family dynamics, even professional collaborations.
Yeah, totally. It's like a framework for healthy relating in all areas of our lives.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about cultivating mindful, respectful interactions with everyone, not just our romantic partners.
So, dear listener, as you continue on your own relationship journey, consider this. How might these 12 goals show up in other areas of your life?
What new possibilities might open up if you applied these principles to your friendships, your family, your workplace?
That's something to ponder as you continue your own deep dive into Always and Forever. And if you're ready to embark on this journey of creating more fulfilling relationships, I highly recommend grabbing a copy of Always and Forever for yourself. It's packed with even more insights and practical wisdom than we could cover here. Happy deep diving. It's amazing to think about how those principles could really change not just our romantic relationships, but also how we interact with our friends and family and even our colleagues.
Yeah. Imagine approaching all of those relationships with that same level of intentionality and care. What if we celebrated the things that make our friends unique instead of trying to change them? Or what if we practiced courtesy and clear communication with our family members, even when things get a little bit heated?
And what if we actually had really healthy boundaries at work? Where we protected our time and energy, but we were still collaborative and supportive. It's almost like these 12 goals are this amazing blueprint for building stronger and more genuine connections in every single part of our lives.
It is, and that's what's so cool about this deep dive. It's not just about fixing what's wrong, it's about learning how to be more mindful and intentional in all of our relationships.
So, as we wrap up this exploration of always and forever, I'm left feeling really hopeful. It reminds me that we really do have the power to create the relationships we want.
Yeah.
But it takes effort, it takes commitment, and it takes a willingness to keep learning and keep growing.
Yeah, and it's a journey that's so worth taking. Because in the end, our relationships are what really matter. They give our lives meaning and purpose and joy.
So if you're ready to start creating those more fulfilling relationships, grab yourself a copy of Always and Forever. It's packed with so much more than we could ever cover here. Happy deep diving.